America's best days can still be ahead, and I want to lead us forward. Join me now in the Reid Revolution.
Thursday morning, glad you're with us for the Reid Revolution. I'm John Reid, and gosh, feeling it today. Every night this week, there's been some sort of event, either related to the gerrymandering issue that I'm prayerful people are really hearing about and getting motivated. I mean, I'm pleased as I travel around the state. It does seem like there's some recognition that this special election that nobody could have foreseen is out there, and that everything is on the line when it comes to fairness, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. If the illegal gerrymandering scheme that the Democrats are pushing through does go through and is passed because people are manipulated by the lies that have been put into the actual document that people are going to be voting on, then everything changes in Virginia. You think it's hard to get money from the Republicans in Washington to support legitimate candidates, to stand up for Virginia and stand up for responsible governance. It's going to be even more difficult when we become California East without Malibu beaches, and Republican candidates just don't have a chance, at least for Congress. The only thing that could save everybody will be the opportunity for statewide candidates to win the governor's mansion, lieutenant governor, and attorney general at some point in the future. But I'm fearful. I don't know. I'm kind of a stand and fight kind of guy, but I think a lot of folks who have money, who may be reaching the end of their professional careers, or just don't want to constantly be in a fight, and who can blame you, will be looking for an escape hatch. I mean, I've had some friends who've lived in North Carolina their entire lives who have moved to South Carolina, which is a big deal. If you're a North Carolinian, you may like South Carolina, but to pick up and move to South Carolina is, I don't know that I don't go so far as to say it's a betrayal, but that's a dramatic statement. And so as the gangrene of liberal leftist thought kind of moves through the country, and it is like gangrene. It's spread from the Northeast, and it has moved through Maryland and wrecked Maryland. I mean, how deeply in debt are they, and what a cultural disaster you're seeing in so many parts of Maryland. I feel bad for people who are native Marylanders who are stuck with hostility in the cities and the mess that's in Baltimore. And that's gotten worse in just the last 10 years. Inner Harbor in Baltimore was one of those success stories. The same guy who developed Inner Harbor tried to develop a similar program or project here in Richmond, 6th Street Marketplace, and that didn't work in Richmond. What was that? 30 years ago, 35 years ago, 6th Street Marketplace. But Inner Harbor was a great example of a success, I think largely because it was on the water. And now even some of the big hotels in Baltimore that were right there downtown have closed. I haven't been to one of the ball games at the Orioles Park in a while, but from all accounts, they're in trouble. And that is largely because there are two main things that you need to look for from elected officials. Are they business-minded? Because whether you like it or not, I know some people refuse to accept this, having money and having a robust economy where people can be employed and get a regular paycheck, and they're not stressed out about that, and they don't resort to crime, is important. And having leaders who actually get it, who understand that you've got to create an environment in which business can flourish, that is extremely important. And I would put as number two, maybe flipping back and forth with number one, is having leaders who actually want to protect the innocent citizens, who want to make sure that there are not robberies, that there are not attacks, they're not rapes, they're not murders. And a lot of these people that we have been sending to our capitals, locally and across the country, are not obsessed with those 2 points. In fact, they're the opposite of it. They are very dismissive of those issues. Here in Henrico County, in central Virginia, state capital of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Used to be one of the safest places you could be in the United States. There is a different attitude in leadership here now. And so over the past weekend, you had one of these teen takeovers of the local mall where between 75 and 100 teens showed up. I do think they were mostly black teenagers. I mean, I don't think that's an unreasonable question. Who were the teenagers and how do you describe them? Well, are they Henrico teenagers? Are they teenagers from the city of Richmond? Did they take the bus here? Nobody really wants to talk about those issues. And I'm not enthusiastic about labeling people based on skin color. I wish that wasn't a factor, but unfortunately, it's a factor here. Can we all just be honest with each other? Or are we going to continue to dance around and pretend that that's not an issue? So you got all these 75 to 100 kids, teenagers showing up, and the people who are leading this county that used to be so safe are trying to make excuses, and they're downplaying what happened in Henrico. I mean, this is pretty important outdoor mall. And I use this for those of you who are watching who don't live in Central Virginia. I know I don't blame you. You don't care about this issue, but this issue is illustrative of the problem that we're seeing all over the country. You have Democrat leaders who are so focused on race and gender issues and social justice warrior policies that when something like this happens, their first instinct is let's not indict someone based on race. Let's not talk about the race because that might look bad. Instead of saying, what the hell, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. Like a responsible leader who is responsible for an area like this one that I live in, where this mall is, would stand up and say, I want to be clear. This was unacceptable. We are not tolerating it. I am working with the police officers to make sure that it doesn't happen again. I will be at the mall this weekend personally to help make sure that it doesn't happen again. I hope you will come and shop. We will make sure you are safe, and anybody who steps out of line is going to jail. That's the only message that matters. If you're actually a leader, and if you have your priorities straight, which are economic development so that everybody can earn a living, and everyone feels like if they put in 8-10 hours a day, they're going to be able to pay their bills. That's really important. And so that the mom who's pushing or the dad who's pushing the kid in the stroller isn't wondering, oh my gosh, if I go to the mall this weekend, am I going to be attacked or am I going to be able to have some ice cream with my kid? Which situation am I going to walk in on? I want to know that the people who are running the community, who are in an elected position, want to protect me and my kid and want to make sure that I have a good experience in these public places, not someone who's confused and every issue winds up being a social justice warrior debate rather than stop debating, acknowledge the truth, and fix it. Fix it. I mean, truth is, if you have 75 or 100 wilding teenagers, I don't care what color they are, white, black, Asian, Latina, I don't care who they are, if you discipline them, the first time something like this happens, if you put some people in jail for 3 months, ruin their life for 3 months, it's going to stop. This stuff is going to stop because the word's going to go out, oh, hell no, don't go to the mall. Don't do this at that mall. Don't do that in this county because our people aren't going to put up with it. So we probably should go somewhere else if we're going to commit crime. You don't want to commit crime there. You know why they don't commit as much crime a little further west of here? Because they'll put a bullet in your head if you knock on their door. They're country people. They're my friends. They're country people. Even when I go to visit people a little further out who aren't in the suburbs, I call them first and tell them I'm coming. Yeah, I might stop by your house. Is that okay? I'm serious about the is that okay thing because seriously, if they feel threatened, they're not scared to shoot you. And everybody knows it. And if you're one of the people who goes, oh my God, that's terrible. No. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's called a very civilizing mindset. People who want to do harm need to feel threatened They need to feel like, wait a minute, if I behave this way, my life is going to be disrupted. I might be the one who goes to jail. I might be the one who's paying um, for the damage that I'm doing, or I might be dead. So I should probably temper that behavior or go somewhere else to do it. This isn't complicated. This is human nature 101. Why, when you were in elementary school, you're like, oh yeah, I hope I don't get that class because she's really tough. She lets she disciplines those students, and I don't really want to do it. You might have been better off being in that class, but you didn't want to be disciplined. So people would know, and I watched it over and over and over again. You go into certain classes, if you have the teacher at the front, it could be some little old lady who couldn't fight if she had to, but she had the attitude of, I'm not tolerating this in the class. And of course, back then, the principal, assistant principal would back up the teacher. I'm not sure that's the case today. Everybody is confused about what their role is. So these kids run roughshod over the teachers instead of submitting to, well, I'm in this classroom, the teacher runs this, and this is one of the tough teachers, so I better shut my mouth. And I better raise my hand before I get up out of my chair, because if I don't, I'm going to have a problem here. I mean, we have just given up on the most basic way of disciplining society, not oppressing society, not being tyrannical. This is called disciplining society to protect everybody. And for some reason, there's confusion about this. And then when I talk about it, in another hour, I will have emails from people who are saying how cruel it is that I'm talking this way. This is not cruel. This is actually protecting everyone else in the society. I don't think you should have to worry if you go on a Friday night to go shop for a new dress or to go shop for a new jacket or a new shirt or just want to wander around and have a cup of coffee or some ice cream with your family. You should not have to worry about whether 100 random teenagers of any race are going to show up and raise hell and make your experience scary and or miserable and maybe even dangerous. You shouldn't have to worry about that. And you should feel confident that the police chief, the members of the board of supervisors, the prosecutor, the management of the mall, that they are united in one front to stop the bad stuff from happening. But unfortunately, once the Democrat social justice warrior mindset infects everything, you're screwed. Forgive me for putting it that way. I know some people don't like it when I use that word, but you're in a bad place and you are in danger. This is why our inner cities have been a mess for decades, because they're serving two masters, if you will. Oh, we've got to cater to the minority community. We don't want to be too harsh. We don't want to look like it. You're not looking like you're racist, and you're not looking like you're too harsh. You look like you're actually trying to protect the people who don't want to be assaulted and abused on a regular basis. I admire that. I think most people do. Sure, somebody's going to scream when you lock their child up. Well, you know what? Scream all you want. You should have gotten your kid under control before they went to the mall, before they attacked somebody, before they kicked in the door, and the solution is always this absurd, obnoxious, let's give the kids something to do. We need to come up with a government program with your tax money that'll give the kids something to do. Maybe midnight basketball will work. I mean, how many decades have I heard this garbage? Midnight basketball will solve them. Give me a break. How insulting to young people, white, black, male, female, to think that midnight basketball is the solution here. There's more stuff to do today than there ever has been. You can sit on your fat butt 24 hours a day and play video games in your own house. You don't need midnight basketball. Stop making excuses for bad behavior and just hammer the kids who behave badly. Now, it's going to take some spine, because you're going to look and you go, oh, God, I hate this. It's a 14-year-old and their life is now messed up and they've got something on their record now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you made that choice. I can't save everybody. Can't save everybody. That's one of the first things you got to learn as an adult, is you can't save everybody. They're going to be people who make really bad decisions consistently, and they're not savable. Let their church save them. Let their pastor worry about that. You as a government person can't worry about that. Your obligation is to protect the masses from the bad guys, not to save every individual person. That's harsh, and I know people don't like it, but that's the truth. If you are running an operation where you're trying to save every single idiot who behaves badly, who's a deviant or, you know, doesn't want to obey the rules, it's a losing cause and always has been everywhere in all times. And there's no need to worry about it. You know, if somebody is constantly blowing past the school zone at 70 miles an hour, how many times are you supposed to pull them over before you say, you know what, I'm tired of pulling you over. You're going to jail. One time, you didn't see the sign, you didn't see the flashing lights, you didn't see the little kids, you didn't see the crosswalk person. Okay, one time. Anything past that, we're going to hammer the hell out of you because we know you'll run your big mouth and tell everybody, oh my God, whatever you do, don't speed in this area because they're going to go after you. Why are they doing it? To protect the kids so nobody gets hit by a car. Seems like a pretty reasonable thing to me. Let's run the entire society that way. Is the restriction, is the rule a legitimate rule? Not running through the mall, smashing stuff and scaring everybody. That seems like a pretty legitimate concern to have. And we see the person who just put up on our screen that one of the local TV stations is calling it a teen gathering. It's not a teen gathering. Yeah, I mean, why is everybody trying to clean this up and act like it's nothing? What is this reflexive idea that we've got to make not acknowledge that adults who have money and have family and want to go to the mall do not expect to see a wall of 100 kids come running to them. Whatever the motivation is, are they going to be singing in a chorus? What is it? What is it you're trying to excuse? You're basically excusing really bad behavior that is threatening to other people. Why are we tolerating that? But we do it with adults too. We have the Hamas Palestinian whack job terrorists who know exactly what they're doing. They show up, they block the roads. Antifa blocked the roads, BLM blocked the roads. You're entitled to your opinion, even if you disagree with me, even if you're stupid enough to disagree with me. It's okay. There are lots of dumb people. That's all right. It's free country. You can be one of the dummies if that's what you want to be. It's all right. Completely okay. What you can't do is threaten other people. What you can't do is block the road. What you can't do is interfere with other people. And when I bring that up, I'm constantly told by left-wing Democrats, oh, well, the whole point of protesting is to disrupt things and make it uncomfortable for other people. And my answer is, then you're going to jail. You can do it. If you want to disrupt my life, I'm not the kind of person who's just going to go, wow, that was really uncomfortable. And I didn't make it to my thing on time. And, I couldn't get over to see my mother or my sister or, gosh, I wish they hadn't done. No, you're going to have a problem because I don't accept that. I accept you being a fool. I accept you protesting for whatever stupid thing you want to protest. Totally okay. Until you interfere with me. And now we got a problem. And I'm going to make sure that if you're trying to cause me a problem and you interfere, I'm now going to cause you a problem. See, so that's what is it that's complicated about that? But we're so passive. We've been trained like rats in the lab to be so passive that we don't enforce the law and we don't protect each other. I would say the same thing to a bunch of conservatives. My friends and I are pro-life. A lot of people don't like that. Well, it is true. I still don't think as important as an issue as I think that is, and as awful as it is that I think we have completely devalued human life in modern America, which is pretty sick. We still don't have the right to go and block the streets. We still don't have the right to go and harass other people. We do not have the right to go to the mall and take what we feel strongly about and shove it in other people's faces and make our beliefs a problem for other people. And I feel pretty strongly about the issue, and I'm almost 100% sure I'm right on the issue, to be honest with you. But I don't have the right to interfere with other people. How much more intellectually honest can I be? But to say that something that I feel very passionately about, I still don't have the right to impose it on you, to try to manipulate or emotionally blackmail you to give in to me. I mean, what more do you want? I'm telling you how I feel about it. I'm protecting the restrictions. I'm protecting your rights too, even though I think you're 100% wrong. I we need leaders like that who recognize those parameters. And that is not what we've got. That's not what we've got on the local level in a lot of communities across the country, and it's not what we have on the state level. And I'm really worried when you see the way these people are behaving in Washington. It's not what you're seeing. And so that brings me to the issue of the day with the Save America Act. I mean, for God's sake, if these Republicans cannot get this thing through, and I don't understand, having worked in the United States Senate, there's a certain amount of pressure you can put on different members of the Senate. And, it's hard to have a caucus of a large group of people who have, differing opinions on key issues. This is one, though. There are a few things that the leadership of the United States Senate, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have to crack the whip. And you have to say, what, normally we would entertain your personal opinion. This is not one of those things. Save America Act, for God's sake, cannot be, there needs to be no dissent in this. And if there is, then you have to really punish the dissenters. Democrats get it. Look what they have done in Virginia. Chat Peterson, who didn't go along with everything that his party wanted in the legislature, they got rid of his butt and replaced him with some guy who was born in Bangladesh who doesn't know. I mean, I don't get it. You get rid of a native Virginian who is a strong Democrat because he won't go along with everything, and you replace him with a guy from Bangladesh. Okay. I mean, that tells a story about the modern Democrat Party. They're not kidding. Joe Morrissey, who has been a Democrat his entire career in public, raises hell for Democrats on a regular basis. He deviates on abortion, man, they got rid of him. They're not putting up with any they've decided what their core issues are. And even if you're a Democrat, man, that's it. They are not going to tolerate any dissent. They will get rid of you. They will primary you. They will cut your money off. They'll get rid of you. And I know what that's like. I mean, the powers that be tried to cut the money off for me successfully, largely. I mean, I don't appreciate it, and I think their logic was stupid, and they wound up doing a lot of damage to the Republican Party and to the state of Virginia. But whatever. I mean, they demonstrated that they were willing to do harm to one of their own people to try to get their way. They just ran up against somebody like me who's not going to put up with it. So, there was a miscalculation on that part. Like, maybe John Reid is not the person to try this with. But if the Save America Act isn't something you can get past, forget it. Just forget everything. You might as well just get a sickle and hammer tattoo right now, because it's over. If you can't pull the Republican caucus together to say that we're going to require photo ID in order to vote, give me a break. And look at how things have changed in the country. A lot of people say, oh, Ronald Reagan couldn't be a Republican today. Bull. We're talking about the same stuff. We just are tolerating a deviancy that we never would have tolerated. Listen, real quick before we take a break, let's get producer Dan to play what Chuck Schumer was saying 30 years ago today, 3 decades ago today, when the conversation about ID came up in the United States Senate.
First of all, Social Security card is used from one end of America to the other as an identification card right now. Who are we kidding? If you want to pass a law and says it shouldn't be, I would ask the chairman and the distinguished minority member of the Social Security committee to pass that law. But let's admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a Social Security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a Social Security card. This is an anti-fraud amendment. Over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud. And here, the gentleman from Florida has put together the most effective anti-fraud measure we can find without it changing the actions of the government one bit. And we find all this opposition. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, what I worry about is that this bill, which started out with good intentions, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is going to end up being the same kind of thing that the public gets angry with us on. We say we're doing something, and we do nothing. Because every time someone makes a rational and small proposal to get something done, people say, well, what about this hypothetical, that hypothetical, etc. I urge support of this amendment. If you believe you want to stop fraud in immigration, you have no choice but to support this amendment.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Can you believe it? It's like a time warp, and that's real. Thank goodness for the internet, because these things don't disappear. You know, a few years ago, before the internet really arrived and was searchable, something like that, which exposes the hypocrisy of modern Schumer, Chuck Schumer, you would never find it. You would never find it. And now we see how crazy we've shifted in our attitude. That's really a dangerous place to be. And we should take note of that. Plus, we should also probably get rid of these people. 30 years in the United States Senate. I mean, I'm not one of these people who says stay for 6 years and get out, because you do learn things, and the longevity of people and their understanding of the government bureaucracy and of the issues is important. But come on. If that doesn't illustrate how the Democrat Party has changed dramatically, I don't know what does. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, Colby Barrett joins us from Faith Under Siege. Let's get an assessment of what's happening in Iran and where we think things might go in the coming weeks and months, whether we're there or whether we start to pull back. That's when we return on this Thursday morning, the Reid Revolution.
Here in Richmond, our freedoms are under attack. The Democrats are ramming through a redistricting referendum, redrawing the congressional maps that shift a fair 6-5 representation to 10-1 in their favor. Rushed ahead of this November's election, it's a clear power grab. Your vote no is important. Virginia, we can't afford to sit this one out. So by April 21st, get out and vote no for fair representation. Vote no to defend freedom.
Yeah, good ad. Hope you've seen it, and I hope that you signed up. You know, Governor Youngkin asked everybody to sign up for mail-in ballots. So I've got my mail-in ballot. I got to go over and drop this thing in the box at the Henrico courthouse and vote no. And when you read this, you're going to be confused. Deliberately. The Democrats are deliberately trying to confuse the voters. They've read something that is so unfair and devious that they want to lead you to vote yes, because who doesn't? Everybody wants fair elections. Yes, of course. Yes, fair election. Yeah, the problem is that if you vote yes, you ain't going to get a fair election. And it really is. It's instructive when you're up against people who are totally deviant and all standards go out the window. You know, I felt that way sometimes when I've dealt with some banks and credit cards and money people. They're so interested in robbing you of money that they'll lie, or they'll twist the facts to try to get you to sign up for something and then you're going to get hit on the back end. And they know it. They know that that's the plan. And I feel like that's where we are with Virginia politics. Don't let them win. Vote no. Go vote now. And vote no. And don't believe this little write-up that the Democrats have forced into things. All right, on the international scene, of course, we're waiting to see how things are going to pan out in the short term, at least, in Iran. And I've been surprised at how many people have kind of turned on President Trump, even people within the Republican caucus who, if they had anxiety about Iran, might have sat in the back and held their tongue. They seem to think that America first meant not just no endless wars, but no foreign engagement of any kind. Colby Barrett is with us from Faith Under Siege, former U.S. Marine Corps captain and entrepreneur. Colby, I appreciate you joining us. Tell me what your assessment is at this moment of what the president has done and the reaction from the Republican caucus, which seems split in some ways.
Yeah, John, thanks for having me on. Obviously, overwhelming tactical success on the military level in these first strikes. Now, I think what to watch is the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit is steaming towards the Strait of Hormuz. This is a unit I deployed with a couple times. And I think that's really what to watch. Does this conflict escalate into invasion of some of these islands by the 31st MU? Or do we see continued tactical strikes using power? And that's, I think, the big question there. Do we see an escalation there, or is it one that continues with more weeks of airstrikes?
As somebody who's been over there in different conflicts, what's the smart thing for us to do? Take the politics out of it. If we don't want to pay $8 a gallon gas prices, and we don't want to see a continued stronghold of radical Islamic terror, what's the smart thing to do, you think?
Yeah, this is a tough one, right? So it really is a rock and a hard place. So if you give up now, the regime has survived these initial strikes. So Khomeini, the elder, has been taken out. His son is in charge now. Now, there are questions on whether he's even in Iran. There are unconfirmed reports that he's lost a leg and is actually in Moscow for treatment, medical treatment there. I can't.
You think that's real, or is that psyops?
It would fit kind of the Russia-Iran nexus, right? When somebody that's allied with Russia, which Iran, Syria, all these places, that's the first place they go when they get into trouble. So it's not completely laughable, but obviously no trustworthy sources have confirmed that yet. So I think taking out the regime is a longer lift, and then you've got the question of the Strait of Hormuz. The longer that's threatened by Iran, oil prices are going up, the economies are starting to falter, and I think what Iran's calculus here is, von Clausewitz was the best military historian in that I can think of, and he was always thinking about center of gravity, right? So you go and you say you've got a nation state, what drives them? What is really their key to success? And for Iran, it's the power of the Revolutionary Guard. And so we've tried to take out their leaders. They've replaced them. So we've had a little bit of trouble attacking Iran's center of gravity. For the U.S., I would say it's our economy and public support. And if you look at what they're doing, by choking the Strait of Hormuz, that raises oil prices. Gas prices go up, people complain, and you start losing coherence of message here in the U.S. They're attacking our center of gravity. And you'll see this in different ways, especially when you kind of look at all the folks that are working together against the U.S. So it's not just Iran. They're in cahoots with Russia. They're in cahoots with China, North Korea, Hamas, the cartels, all in different ways are working together to undermine the U.S. And one of their primary tools is public support and public unity. I'll use one example that popped up just this morning. So Joe Kent was the director of counterintelligence, right? Famously resigned recently over this war, went on Tucker Carlson and said something to the effect of, Israel drug us into this war. Within minutes, 100 different accounts tweeted that out. And if you look at these accounts, many of them would have a Russian nexus, right? So that's the
Why'd he
kind of
do
stuff that
that?
they're doing. What's
I
that?
mean, why did he do that? Well, he's presumably a smart guy, and this seems to be out of line with what he has said over the years. I mean, was he compromised? Did somebody I mean, has anybody checked to make sure his children haven't been kidnapped? Or, I mean, people think I'm joking about that. I'm not joking. I mean, maybe there's some reason that someone would say, I'll do whatever you want me to do, and I will do something that's so out of consistency with what I've said in the past. I mean, that crossed my mind. It didn't make sense to me.
I think some of the things he's said is basically that in the lead up to this conflict, his voice wasn't heard enough, and there wasn't enough debate about whether
Mm.
we should go into Iran. To me, is that enough reason to resign?
In public, very
Yes,
dramatically, yeah, and
yeah, and
undermine
then
our efforts.
yeah, and then you look at the timeline there, like very public resignation. He's on Tucker 20 minutes later, basically. And then right after that, you've got all these tweets coming out from, primarily Russian supported accounts, really trying to drive a wedge, I think, in especially the Republican Party, right? And that message is, hey, this wasn't President Trump's choice. We were drug into this by Israel, and just very divisive messages that. But you can see if you kind of lift up and say, what are they trying to do? And the answer is the U.S. center of gravity is public support. We're a democracy. And so if you can attack that, and especially if you can split the ruling party, the Republicans are in charge, right? And so if I can split them as an enemy of the U.S., then they're going to be weaker. And that's what I want. And so if you kind of take that 30,000 foot view, a lot of these weird things start to kind of click together.
If it was any place else but Iran, I could kind of understand the self-reflection that people seem to be doing in the middle of this. But they've
Right.
been such a problem for so long. It's
Right.
documented. It's not even like weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, where we trusted all of the leadership and they said, oh, it's there. And then, by the time we got there, it wasn't there. I don't know what was there a year previous to the time that we arrived on boots on the ground. So I'm not sure. It wouldn't surprise me if there were weapons of mass destruction. But hey, by the time we got there, you couldn't point to this cache and say, here it is. But if it was anything other than Iran, I would understand potentially. Let's just say the president had said, we're going to invade one of these countries in Africa because we think that they are exporting terror. Maybe true, but you haven't prepared the American people for that reality. The fact that we're having to go through and re-educate everybody about how evil Iran is. I mean, they don't even hide it. Every protest that they stage is about killing Americans, killing you, killing me. I mean, I've been looking for this moment for a long time. I'm glad Donald Trump has done it. There's not enough damage, in my opinion, that he can do to Iran. I think they should be living in the dirt, in the sand for decades to come if we want to survive. And a lot of Americans have this delusional opinion that, we can all just get along. No, we cannot. So if it's between you dying or you living in the dirt and me dying or me living in the dirt, guess where my allegiance is going to be? America surviving. What is going on with this confusion within the Republican Party, even if they don't like the idea of these forward-facing conflicts? There seems to be a rewrite happening. Has everybody been paid off, or was I unaware of this dissension within the party? Or are they just so tired of Afghanistan and Iraq that they can't stomach the idea that we're going to be engaged militarily anywhere else in the world for another 100 years, which is an impossibility? What do you think?
I think your point is spot on. Like, if you look at our our most recent paradigm is that our conflicts have been messy, right? So Afghanistan was messy, Iraq was messy. We don't have the institutional memory of World War II, right? World War II was good versus evil. It was very clear. And that's actually what we're into
In
right now.
hindsight, right?
In
In hindsight.
hindsight, yeah. And so you look at this now, that is the same as the global conflict that we're hopefully not entering into, but seeing glimpses of
Mm-hmm.
right now. Iran wants our destruction, right? They say death to America, death to Israel. That's not a slogan. That is a policy statement of their regime at the highest possible levels. And so to have any confusion about, is the Iranian regime friendly, or can we figure this out? We should be clear-eyed on that, and we should also be clear-eyed on the other members of this axis that are trying to destroy us. A lot of people don't
Mm-hmm.
know this, but in 2024, Russia declared a holy war on the West. So few
Russia.
people, Russia did, right? So in the 25th Russian World People's Congress, which is it's presided over by Putin, and then run by Patriarch Kirill of the Russian Orthodox Church, they issued a statement, had a lot of kind of crazy stuff in it, but one of them was that their struggle in Ukraine and globally is against the global West, which is an agent of Satan. And
Mm.
last I checked, we're part of the West. And so
Mm.
I think this is really important for everybody to look at is who's on our team and who's not. And let's take politics out of that. I use Ukraine as an example, right? So a lot of Republicans were frustrated with how much aid we gave to Ukraine under President Biden, and therefore took that message to say, well, I don't support Ukraine. Well, let's look at this war, right? Russia has sent 15 cargo load planes full of weapons over to Iran to kill our troops. They've helped
Mm.
with targeting. Their components are in the Shahed drones that are hitting the bases that I served on when I was with CTF 53 many years ago. And so Russia's not on our team here. You look at Ukraine, they're in the middle of a war. They're not able to do too much, but they've sent over 200 advisors over to help drone interdiction. So they have these $1,000 units that they mass produce to shoot down Shaheds. They've been doing it for years. They're not able to do much because, of course, they're in the midst of their own war, but they're trying to help in any way that they can. And Russia is not. They're trying to kill our troops. So I think that's the big thing is these things are messy. I get it, but we need to be very clear who's on our side and who's not. And that allows us to make really good decisions, I think, on what to do next.
Before I run out of time with you, tell me your assessment of NATO and I mean, it's not even passive aggressive at this point. A lot of the NATO leaders, I don't know what it's like to get on a phone call with Donald Trump. Maybe he is insulting to a point where these guys are like, you know what, to hell with you. We don't like you. You make it clear that you think you're dominating us. I mean, I voted for Donald Trump, but it appears clear that his diplomatic skills, when he wants someone to do something, may be lacking. I don't know. I don't know what that call is like, but it is weird to me that at this moment, a lot of people that I thought would say, God, all right, we got to go with USA on this. Team USA, they're leading us and we got to do this. They're walking away from us. Is that unfair to say, or?
I think that's right. I think you've got two things. There wasn't the same coalition building that we've seen in previous Middle Eastern conflicts in the lead up
Months
to
of
this war.
talking to them and bringing them
Exactly,
on
right.
board.
So that's a piece of it. And then, you've got just European inaction, right? These guys, here's another example. They're sitting on $90 billion worth of frozen Russian assets in Belgium. They could release that tomorrow and Russia would lose the Ukraine war. I mean, and this is years they've been debating that. So I think you've got those two pieces, the lack of kind of concerted coalition building, which could have helped. And then secondly, just European, a lot of all talk, no action. I do think that will turn around a little bit as the global economy continues to struggle due to high oil prices, and you'll see more people jumping on.
They're going to have to
help.
do something to protect
I think
themselves.
so. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. How do we repair that relationship? I mean, Trump typical President Trump, he seems to be like, all right, I gave you a test. It was like ride or die moment. Come on, guys, we're going to go get into a fight. And if you stay on the sidewalk, I'm going to remember that for the future when I come back. And with Trump, I don't question that. I think he will punish them in some way in the future. Take a note. We're going to punish you down the road. And I would be worried about that if I was Macron of France or, even Keir Starmer in the UK. I think Trump will exact a cost at some point in the future for their hesitation to be supportive.
Right. And I think you look when President Trump has pushed pressure on the EU and NATO, some of the results have been really good, right? Their defense spending they were struggling to hit 2% GDP defense spending targets. Now they're talking about 5%, and a lot of people are hitting that. Especially, and it's interesting, the closer they are to Russia, the more they are hitting their target, the farther away they aren't. So that's actually a good thing where President Trump's been tough on NATO and you've seen good action. Ultimately, the US and NATO were natural allies. And so I think that situation will repair itself over time.
Not fall apart.
No, I don't think so. The Europeans can be annoying in so many different ways, but when we talk about who's our allies, who's our friends, and who's our enemies, friends can be annoying as well. And that's certainly the case with a lot of our interactions with the Europeans on a military context, but they still wish us well. Whereas those other countries I mentioned do not and wish our destruction. So.
Now, not only do you have experience in the United States military, but now you're a documentary filmmaker. So I want to find out about Faith Under Siege. And can I see this at this point?
Yeah, so faithundersiege.com is our website. And really, I served in the Marine Corps, but was just an entrepreneur and a businessman here. I was called to go. I found out what was happening to especially Protestant Christians in the occupied territories of Ukraine. And what I heard blew my mind. The number is now 58 priests and pastors, Christian priests and pastors killed by Russia, 650 churches destroyed, tens of thousands of children abducted. It shocked me. And I followed
based
the
on
news.
faith. I thought the Russians were all about Christianity and pushing back against, quite frankly, Islam and
Right.
and
Yeah,
that's the narrative that we've heard.
It is, and they've really tried to craft that message that they're the protectors of traditional family values and these kind of things. Really, you just have to go there and talk to Christians that have gone through this. But pretty much every church that's not controlled by the Kremlin in the occupied territories has been shut down. The pastor has been either murdered or forcibly deported, a lot of times tortured in the process. And so that's something that we try to outline with this documentary, and the response has been great. Christians seeing this, finding out what's going on, and being able to support through prayer and just better understanding of the situation. But faithundersiege.com, it's free. This isn't a project where we're trying to make money or anything like that. So you can watch it for free, and there's some related content as well. We just screened it at the U.S. Capitol a couple weeks ago, so that was a big win for us to
well, let's try to figure out a way to do a screening here in Richmond at the Virginia Capitol.
That'd be great.
People would find that interesting. It's disturbing to me, and I have to acknowledge, even with all of my overseas assignments and ventures, I just didn't realize how targeted in the modern era Christianity has become. Even from people that you've been told would be natural allies based on some other economic interests and cultural issues. And so the word that's coming out of Africa, for example, where they're slaughtering villages and torturing people in public to make the statement that you cannot be Christian. I think a lot of us find that so horrific that we just can't even acknowledge that it's happening. But it appears to be true, not just a rumor. And, for those of us who think that the survival of Western civilization is predicated on the survival of Christianity as a faith, that should be alarming. We should be paying attention to it.
And this is what ties all that together is Christians, Christians that are very faithful are so hard to control, right? Because our allegiance is to God, to Jesus, not to the state, not to whatever kind of power that's trying to take over. And so when you see authoritarian or Islamist regimes or whatever trying to come in and control the population, the first thing they'll do is come after the Christians, because those guys, have a higher allegiance, and that puts an absolute target on their back. So
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate the chance to spend some time with you. Now I've added Faith Under Siege in my queue of
Great.
things that I want to check out, and let's talk about whether we can pull together some sort of screening here in Richmond. I think you'd have a lot of people who are interested. Colby Barrett, thank you very
John,
much.
thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, that's an interesting conversation and kind of disturbing in a lot of ways. When you can't hold the allies together based on the last century, based on faith, based on economics, what are we doing here? And why is there this split? Somebody's got to get a hold of that real quick. I think Trump will play hardball with them, and I'm glad we don't have a passive, wimpy president at this moment. Whatever happens in the next 3 years, we got to protect ourselves and save this country, which is a tall order. Look at the last election here in Virginia. I mean, we're going to tax the hell out of everybody and implode our own economy with government programs, and the working people who are willing to get up every morning and go to work are going to go somewhere else because they're going to want to keep their money. That's a problem. But if we exist in a world that is smaller and smaller because of the internet and because of airplanes and because of crazy immigration rules that don't hold people in the areas that are their home country and force them to fix their home country, we could have a big, big problem on our hands. All right, we're back with more in just a moment on the Reid Revolution.
April 21st, a special election will be held for Virginia voters to decide who draws our political district lines. Will it be the current nonpartisan Citizen Commission, or will it be Richmond politicians with their own dark and secret political agendas, shifting lines every cycle, confusing the voters? They call this the Fair Redistricting Amendment, but it's anything but fair. Vote no on the unfair amendment on April 21st.
Authorized and paid for by the 5th Congressional District of the Virginia Republican Committee.
All right. Please go vote. Vote now and vote no against the gerrymandering referendum that's out there. It's an illegal election. It shouldn't be happening, but everybody on the courts in the Commonwealth of Virginia, weak, pathetic people who are scared of the Democrats. I really can't blame them. I mean, I'm worried about getting shot every day. I was about to post something about Henrico County, where I've lived my entire life, where my own father was the delegate who represented the county, producer Dan. And I figured, I'm doing the show, let me not post it until I think about it. Why? Because I just don't trust anybody in authority anymore. I think we have turned a corner where there's going to be vindictive hostility towards people who actually stand up for what's right. And I got to figure out where the lines are. Do I do that in my home county and wind up getting harassed in my home county and maybe abused in my home county? Hopefully not murdered in my home county by political people. I mean, I know some of you will hear that and think that's crazy. I wish you could have lived the last year with me and understood the threats, the personal vindictiveness, the hostility, the lies, the destruction, the things that people who know better did to try to destroy me and maybe murder me. Because then maybe you'd understand why my attitude is the way it is right now and why I'm doing this show right now. Because this state is headed in the wrong direction. And some of the people that you would count on to stop it aren't willing to stop it. Who knows? Who knows where maybe you'll be going to my funeral soon.
I
who
hope
knows?
not. Gosh, let's.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me. All right. Anyway, producer Dan, glad to see you.
on that happy note.
On that happy note, the best and worst.
Happy
the best
Friday
and worst
Eve,
of the internet.
Yeah. Yes. Well, where do we start here? How about with this? I think that this could be, John. We've had some wonderful people make it through on American Idol. Carrie Underwood, Kelly Clarkson. This I think could be the next Songbird of our generation. Let's take a listen here.
And all smart and independent. They all know what they're planning. They want to raise transness. We're so open to care in this world.
God, what is this?
I am not a man. I was born a girl in the wrong body. I never wanted to be this way. I never wanted to be this way. I do what I can.
Can somebody just the people with white coats need to show up in this fight.
So I'm not buried in the dirt. You want
What
us
is
dead,
going on?
but we got other plans instead. We will never be silent. We will never be silent.
The voice
What
of
a
an angel.
crazy. What a crazy.
My gosh. What?
See, this used to be the kind of thing that would have been isolated in some whack job asylum. Now this person has standing to go on the internet, and I guarantee you, well, I don't know. I mean, we should look. Hundreds of thousands of people clicking like or watching that. The first sign is the colored hair. I have a couple of friends who think it's kind of cute to have colored hair. I was like, listen, don't do that, because to me, as soon as I see the colored hair coming, I'm like, oh God, I got to get out of here. I don't even, it's not worth having the conversation or debating and being worried. The colored hair just tips it off.
Which of course then leads to the face tattooing, and we have one of those
face
today
tattoo,
too.
yeah.
So yes, somebody who,
I mean, more and more people are getting a neck tattoo. Oh, holy cow! What is this?
I guess you just. I mean, I'm impressed, if that's the right word, that I actually know whom that tattoo is of.
You do?
I think the
Who is
late.
it?
I think that's the late Nipsey Hussle, isn't it? Right?
Oh, I have no
Russell,
clue.
something like that. Nipsey's. I think. Yeah.
I try to
guess-
avoid being educated on that.
Yeah.
On that.
Well, I do
world.
too. I think it just inundated me when he died a couple of years back or whatever. But yeah,
I mean, what is this woman doing? And
look,
what does she think? Is she going to get a job?
I love Jerry Goldsmith, but I am never tattooing Jerry Goldsmith's likeness to my face.
No, because you're sane. Why would you? Why would you do that? And really, truly, does no one every day? I have to think: is this going to make me unemployable? Is this going to be? Is this something that's so bad that whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, it's going to cause a problem with my ability to earn a living and feed myself? Does no one else in this country have to think about that? How does she not pause to go, God, I would love to get a face tattoo, but I couldn't get a job at a coffee shop with this face tattoo?
I see these things and I sense that these folks intend to die young, because I just can't imagine that they're thinking to themselves, oh yeah, I'm going to be the grandma with the face tattoo.
No kidding. Yeah, right.
I mean, it's just
do they assume they're going to be dead and not be a grandma? Is that what's going on? It's kind of fatalist.
Maybe. I hope, because it's crazy to me to think that I mean, who wants to be the grandchild at school saying, "Oh yeah, my grandma's coming to pick me up." Oh, and who's your grandmother? What does she look like? Oh,
yeah.
she's the one with the face tattoo.
The face tattoo.
Yeah. no grandkid wants to say that about his grandmother. Probably not his mother
see,
either.
One of
but
the
certainly not the
problems
grandmother.
here, you and I think this is crazy, Dan, but really it starts to deteriorate the society when people see this stuff. They go, "Oh well, then my tattoo idea isn't as crazy," or all the face piercings that I get. It's just deteriorating society. This is why if you've got small kids, you got to protect them. You've got to keep them away from this, from social media. Not from this show, of course, but from social media that will completely rot their brain and deteriorate everything. I can't even look at that anymore.
Yeah, if either of my nieces neither of my nieces, they better be in school.
Would ever do that.
But it's just, oh my gosh, Claire, Emma, don't you ever, don't ever do please, never.
All right, well let's end on something that's positive, and then I got to run. But
that's right. Well, this was interesting. We'll call this walking on Eiffel Air, but I guess they're trying to create some sort of a net between the parts of the structure of the Eiffel Tower for people to be able to walk. I guess if you're brave enough to do it, I would do it. I don't know if you would, but here's the video of it.
Oh, yeah, that's high up there, the Eiffel Tower, between the two pillars.
Yeah.
God, I'd be kind of worried about that. A net? I'd have a net under the net just in case quite frankly, some crazy jihadist decided to cut the net while people were in there. Because that's high up. Have you been to the Eiffel Tower?
Only the one in King's Dominion.
Yeah, well, that's very. If you take the King's Dominion Eiffel Tower,
I know it's 3 times as tall.
Right.
The real
So
one, right?
the top of the Eiffel Tower, King's Dominion, is the first level of the real Eiffel Tower in Paris. I remember one year I went to France and I saw the real Eiffel Tower in the morning, and then got back to Richmond and saw the fake Eiffel Tower in the evening. I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. This morning I saw the real Eiffel Tower, and now I'm here. But that's I would do that. That's something new. 130 years after the Eiffel Tower opened, to be able to see that. I kind of like when people are thinking outside of the box and coming up with reasons for people to come back and visit. The problem is the last time I was in Paris, which was for the Olympics, when I was doing the WRVA show from the
I remember
Olympics
that.
in Paris,
Yeah.
I made a point of going to the Eiffel Tower.
Yes, you did.
And man, the security is just, our society, we've just surrendered to the bad guys. We've surrendered in that we're allowing jihadists to modify everything that we do. We have to basically undress at the airport. We have to go through metal detectors to go into a concert. We're not going through metal detectors to go into a concert because Catholic nuns are blowing themselves up. That's not what's happening.
No.
We're doing it because they're jihadists out there, and because we don't discipline crazy people.
Yep.
And so between the radical jihadists who are very sane and want to kill us, and the crazy people that we tolerate in our midst, aren't we doomed? But anyway, if I get to go to Paris anytime soon, I will do that walk, because that seems kind of dramatic and interesting. A little scary, though.
Yeah. Well, if you do it at King's Dominion, it won't be quite. It'll be a third as scary, because it'll be only a third as high up.
Yeah. Well, I hope that they don't have a teen takeover at King's Dominion.
Right.
The Hanover Police Department is saying they're going to be watching to make sure they don't have some sort of wilding event at King's Dominion. I mean, we shouldn't have to worry about that. I worked at King's Dominion. You shouldn't have to worry about this stuff. But
this was
there's the media release
they sent out saying
from Ryan Hudson, who is on the Board of Supervisors. I mean, I think in Hanover they won't put up with this garbage. I think they're tough and they're not going to tolerate it. I think. Yeah. So if you're thinking about going to King's Dominion or any place else in Hanover, you should probably think twice, because they're not going to tolerate this garbage. But
head to Henrico County.
Henrico County, they have the Misty girl who brings her horse mane of hair and then strokes her hair while she tells you, "Don't worry about all the violence."
My William and Mary classmate, Misty. Yep.
God.
So
they're gonna learn the hard way.
Yeah.
I love Henrico County. It's my home. But all right. Hey, thank you very much, Producer Dan. Thank you for joining us today. Please follow us on social media, both pages on Facebook. Give us a like and follow. Also on Twitter and X and YouTube. And you can listen to the version of this that doesn't include video on Apple and Spotify if you want to drive around and listen to the program. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another edition of The Reid Revolution. Have a great Thursday.
Disturbed woman